Zavala didn't travel with him. He hasn't been the same since.
Clear for now. By our next sweep to be occupied by someone else. We have enough to clear these zones, but not enough to hold them.
That's where the forces of the city come in. Eventually, they'll be able to push out and hold these areas.
Just like Devrim's been doing in Trostland.
ghosts. I trust you would agree.
I haven't seen much of her lately. She spends all her time with the Ghost Community Theater. They're mounting a new production, some big secret. I can't wait to see it.
hope that I see the whole world through crosshairs now. This is a perfect time to step back and let the Guardian carry the load.
clear these zones, but not enough to hold them.
That's where the forces of the city come in. Eventually, they'll be able to push out and hold these areas.
Just like Devrim's been doing in Trostland.
Sound a little trip. Listen, Squeaker, I want you to do something for me, all right?
Uh-huh.
I want you to take care of Itchy. You know, just while I'm gone. You got a home now, and he doesn't have anybody.
Don't worry, Charlie.
Contractor calls me about a leak in a building they work in. He says please come by as soon as you can and bring a sewer camera. Must be serious, I thought. When they're asking for a drainoscopy, you know it's not just gas. So I scheduled the procedure for the next morning, which was today. As soon as I get there, the super starts showing me around.
One hell of a drug, and these clout is one hell of a drug, and these online personalities became addicted. What may have started as a
We're now going into week 2. My question to you guys is, how are we feeling about Edge of Fate? The entirety of the expansion so far. Granted, we still have like Ash and Iron and all that stuff, but going into week 2, we've experienced the campaign, the narrative, the destination abilities. We've experienced the power grind. We've experienced the stat distribution changes, the armor changes, and the raid, of course. Can I get a poll on this? A lot of people are throwing their answers in here. I'm really curious. How are we feeling about Edge of Fate? 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, 7 to 8, 9 to 10. So if everyone can contribute to that poll, that would be really helpful. I'm just curious what's going on, what you guys are feeling right now. And then I'm going to talk about the highs, but also the lows of this expansion for myself. Let me also preface this by saying we're talking about this right now during downtime before Tuesday's reset. I personally don't really know what the week to week is going to be in terms of content. The poll results are speaking right now, though. 54% say 7 to 8, 29% 5 to 6, 7% 9 to 10, 7% 3 to 4, with 3% following 1 to 2. All right, so let me go ahead and go over the 3 lows right now for the expansion so far. Number 1, without a doubt, the technical difficulties, the audio issues, the bugs, the stats not being what it's supposed to be in game, the crashes. Hell, even in the day 1 raid, you would rally at your rally flag and your abilities would not top off. We would then have to re-instance the raid. A lot of technical problems, more so than normal. The only thing I can say that's good is we've been able to play the game. For the most part, we've been able to play the game. And I know that's such a low bar, but considering like Final Shape and Lightfall, where we get booted, or Vow the Disciple, when people were getting booted out of the raid day 1. Again, the bare minimum is the game should be working and should be working properly. But for whatever reasons, the audio issues on like console specifically, which I think some of them have been addressed, it's a problem. And I even noticed it when doing the raid. I would be shooting with certain weapons and it was kind of jarring. I wouldn't be able to hear the audio from my guns. I don't know if anyone else run that, but like my guns just weren't making noise when I was shooting them, and specifically in damage phases too at times. And it was like, the hell's up with this? And it only happened with certain encounters. So yes, pain point number 1, big technical issues, stat issues, hidden nerfs that weren't disclosed, that I don't think that, you know, Bungie's come forward and said they weren't necessarily hiding them. But I will say the patch that rolled out last week was the largest patch Bungie has ever done, even larger than that in Forsaken. So some things slid underneath the radar. Pain point number 2. I'm still on the fence about this one, and it's the difficulty of the expansion, more specifically the sponginess of enemies and bosses, primarily during Mythic Kepler. The reason why I'm on the fence of this is like, I personally just don't like the dial being turned and just having enemies just be like super spongy. If anything, I just rather more add density, you know, shooting the same enemy forever and ever. There's going to be the crowd that says just get a better build, and that's going to be what I try to do this week. Is like, is there a way in which we can dominate mythic content? I don't know. I don't know if every one of my builds are always going to feel like shit or not, because I have not achieved high enough gear tier, not gear level, but gear tier, in order to have the best, most optimal stat distributions and loadouts. You know what I mean? I think if there's an emphasis on this, is that primary weapons in general just feel bad. There's a reason why people run double special. They just feel bad. In the middle of contest mode, the final encounter, it was more advantageous for me to run around with the glaive and rock double special than it was for me to use a primary, which, I mean, like, some people be like that's pretty cool. You know, we never used glaives during day 1 raid encounters. True, but it was just better for me to run around with a glaive and just poke everything to death than ever consider a single primary in my arsenal. That's pain point number 2. It's just simply weapon sponginess, and that's more shown with primary weapons specifically. Pain point number 3, and I'm gonna kind of just gauge you guys on that. Those are the 2 big ones for me. Pain point number 3. What is something that you guys have just greatly disliked about Edge of Fates? All right, so the 2 things we're supposed to just narrow down on the 3rd pain point. But the 2 things that everyone is saying right now, number 1, Destiny is a grind fest, is what people are saying. Number 2, everybody's memeing on the ball ability, Matter Spark. Right? There's a lot of people that don't like the destination abilities. Okay, so I guess we can just kind of throw those in together, and we'll give you a point 3 and 4 on that. Some people actually like the ball. No lie. Some people are like, yo, I'm with this Matter Spark thing. I will say this, the grind right now is specifically rough simply because we're starting all from level 10. You know what I mean? Versus like, we're having to work our way all the way the fuck up. Granted, it's pretty fast from 10 to 200, but it gets very grindy from 2 to 300. Then beyond that, it gets even grindier. It's grindy, man. And like, until you really get to, and this is, I haven't reached it yet, but it's until I get to 350, do I have some good drops that are dropping? Pretty good. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, do I want to save this when I got tier 4s I can eventually get up to, and tier 5s? Not really. You know what I'm saying? So like, my entire goal at this point is to get to 350, and that is a substantial grind. Jay did the math before this expansion came out. I completely agree with him. To even get to the point to grind tier 5s, he said 90 hours. I think it actually might be more than that. Not to get tier 5, to get to the point to grind for tier 5. Some people are saying way more, potentially. I'm not going to hit 300 until Renegades. Yeah. There are people at 350 already. Yeah. No, there are people at 400 already. So it's possible. If you just grind, brother. You grind. It's definitely obvious that Bungie is heading more into a hardcore direction. Now, here's the other side of things. Keep in mind, tier 2 loot and tier 3 loot is still very, very good. If you got a mint retrograde and it's a god roll, but it's only tier 2, fuck it, man. Use that. That thing is good. I promise you, you'll be just fine. It's for the people that really want to have tier 5s. And if there is one thing that is accomplished by this grindy ass system, not that I'm necessarily saying I'm going to really be able to give my thoughts on the whole grind experience when I've completed it. But you do covet someone with high gear tier. If I see someone with a fully specced out tier 5 setup, I'm gonna be like, damn, my man, I like the hell out of this. You know what I'm saying? There is like a sense of coveting those items. All right, so those are the negatives, right? Let's talk about the positives. And a lot of people are in this stream right now saying there are no positive. Matter of fact, now that we've just dropped a comment, brother, all of it's like, what are you talking about? The whole experience is bad and it's heading towards worse. Like, what are the positives? Do they outweigh the negative? Let me just give you some of my positives. Positive number 1, I thought Bungie did a really good job with the narrative. And I know there are people out there that skip every cutscene, and you know, there are people out there that they just want to shoot things and kill bad guys. They don't really pay attention to the lore. But I really thought the story was good, and I thought the build up and the setup for what our task is as the weapon going forward, that's laid out great for us. And then the lore that dropped from the raid, even better. So narratively, I think this is setting the stage really good. Vive even threw it in as he places it in his top 3 of all campaigns from a lore perspective. No one is sitting, not myself nor by for anyone else that enjoyed the story, is sitting there saying, hey, turning into a ball was the greatest thing we've ever done in a campaign. We're speaking purely from the narrative, the new character Lodi, and you know, the interaction with Orin, how that all came together, and then of course that final mission. That's the perspective that we're coming from on that one. I think the ball was fun. I think it's an easy thing to meme on for sure, but I think a lot of people, the ball was fun. I think it's an easy thing. Mission. That's the perspective that we're coming from on that one. I think the ball was fun. I think it's an easy thing to meme on for sure, but I think a lot of people, I don't know, dude. There were so many people that were like, is the red subclass coming? Bungie's not hiding that shit, guys. So these destination abilities is all we're getting this expansion. Positive thing number 2 for me, and this is going to be a very controversial take. I like the portal. I know when we first saw it, I will agree. When I first saw the portal, I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. What in the mobile game bullshit is this? Guys, I like the portal. I like the portal because I select an activity. I go into it. I have a team. We hit those things. We know what we're going to be getting out of it. I need a class item. I select the activity that's dropping class item. I need some gauntlets or a heavy weapon. I select the activity that's dropping from it. I get the daily bonus drops that double stacks for certain activities. The portal is almost like a game within itself on how to optimize. Granted, most of you just saw us grinding Encore, but what you didn't see is the solo op missions and the other things we did to get the bonus drops before jumping into Encore and just doing the mindless grind. I also like the modifiers Bungie's added. The Banes and the modifiers are really good, and some of them I haven't fully tested. It's actually like one Bane where it's like every time an enemy in the activity kills you, it becomes stronger, which is insane. But it really makes me wonder, like, what is things going to be like on the super high end? Like, what happens if an overload, like imagine the overload champion that 1v1 Joe. How much stronger could that champion have got? I mean, it was already pretty fucking strong. Every time Joe came back, what would that champion, you know what I'm saying? At what point, and like, how do we even, what's the visual representation? I don't even know. I need to mess around that, but I'm letting you guys know that the portal, even though I was very skeptical about it, I like it, man. I like being thrown into targeted activities. Also in the same vein as the portal, I like that I can play Crucible and get drops from Crucible. If I'm tired of the mindless grind inside of PvE, I can go jump inside of PvP and get items inside of PvP. That's really, really nice. And the portal adds to those drops. I actually think the portal is a big dub and is a great thing for returning players and new players. Now, what I will say about the portal, and Bungie's acknowledged this, is this does not mean you should abandon the destination tab. The fact that they even like remove the coloring from the map and like they almost make it look like you should ignore it. You know what I'm saying? That should not be the case. The destination is Destiny. The destination tab is very much a Destiny thing. That should remain. And that should be upgraded and populated from expansion to expansion alongside the portal. Now, like I said a second ago, like we did the negatives, I want to ask you guys for this last one, what are your positives? If we had to add one more positive to the list, what are your positive that you would add to this from this expansion? All right, so I'm hearing some thoughts. People are saying no more gear time gating. That kind of goes in the portal. The one thing that I like is that grinding is, even though it is grindier, it is simpler. It isn't like go do Gambit for 3 games. Now go do a strike for 3 games. And oh, did you go do that destination activity for 3 activities? If you want to optimize just for one activity, you can roll. Some people are saying that it is solo friendly as well. This, you know, that kind of falls into the portal activity. Solo ops are not the craziest thing, but it's a great way for solo players to get good tier. And especially if you stack the bonuses too. Armor, I'm not going to say armor is a positive yet. And the reason why I'm not going to say armor changes and stat changes are a positive yet. Yes, I love that Bungie's expanded on these things, but I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around the stat changes, because for instance, things that were supposed to be the equivalent to our pre-stats at 70 is actually 85. And then like I'm still trying to figure out like how I feel about the stats system. For instance, also armor. I like the armor changes. I like that we have gear sets. So that's a positive, but there's also the negative of we don't have enough archetypes. And archetypes do lock you into certain categories. And again, that's also one of those things. It's like, do these things flesh out more at tier 4, tier 5? Yes, they do. I can't really make a call on that yet. So it's like good and bad coming with them. I would say for me, and no one's probably going to like this, but I thought the raid was really good. And I thought contest mode was really good. And I know it was difficult. And I know some of you guys, your fire team, got completely shit on. And it was a demoralizing experience, I'm sure. Believe me, we were demoralized going into the first encounter and being stuck there for 12 hours. But I thought the raid was good, man. And it also seems like a raid that I'm going to replay a number of times. I like that Bungie went the approach of the OG Leviathan raid. And they made the raid non-linear. Bungie hasn't done that in a long time. I like it because you could essentially just run in there and choose whichever boss you want to do first. I thought that was cool, dude. I think that, you know, I think it's really, really cool. It kind of goes in the same vein as like the campaign in some ways, by not just being this complete linear experience. The only thing I will say about the contest mode version, about the contest mode version of the raid is you should not be getting tier 1 gear for contests, especially if it's that hard. If it's that hard, it needs to be tier 5. Menu swap should never be a needed thing in contests or any encounter. Yeah, we talked about that, you know, yesterday. I don't know, dude. Somebody dropped a clip this morning of loadout swapping, because there were console teams that cleared, and they showed clips of them loadout swapping. I don't know. I don't play controller, but they were doing it fast. They were doing it really fast. Now, whether loadout swapping is going to be a thing in the future, that's for Bungie to decide, man. They're going to have to figure out how to navigate around those waters. They started doing it with Thunder Doctrine and the not swap modifier. They're not going to do locked loadouts, but they may do not swap. But the game is complex enough, man. That's really the overarching direction that Destiny is going in. It's becoming a bit simpler to understand. You could tell with the name changes. Intellect is no longer super, it's just super. Discipline isn't grenade, it's just grenade. The portal activity onboards you, throws you into the stuff. You know, you have a description there exactly of what your gear is going to be when you exit. But at the high end, specifically loadout swapping for contest mode, the game is it's a bit more complicated, right? It requires a lot. I would say for all the people that I've seen that have done contest mode and clear this past weekend, they agree that this level of difficulty is the direction they like to see Destiny go in. Let me pull up Glad's tweet. Glad actually had a tweet on this. Another Glad elitist take: contest rates should be DPS checks. They should be skulled enemies. Many will enter, but only few would finish. They should reward the best of the best. Desert Perpetual showcased this in many ways. I give Bungie props for having balls. That's not to say that normal players shouldn't be able to play the raid. Without a doubt, normal raids are there. And I do agree that at this point, with if contest is going to be this level of difficulty, then normal rates 100% should be unlocked upon clearing contests. I was under the thought process that contest was not going to be this difficult. I thought we were going to return to like almost like a Vow the Disciple difficulty. But Bungie is going this direction where you have to pull out all the stops necessary to clear these encounters. This is the other thing. I'm scared to death. Like, we have something called an epic raid coming in September. I tell you what, dude, I'm just not going to take anything for granted anymore. Like, I went into this raid thinking we were going to clear in 12 hours and it would be all good. And then like 37 hours later, we finally got our clear. So like, I'm going to expect everything here forward. Bungie's going to try to beat our ass. You know what I mean? What's Mac's thoughts on this? Mac right here: as much as I absolutely love the raid, it did show how much of a QA overall the game needs. Flags not working, sprint bug and counter mechanics not working, desync, certain perks not working. Hell, even my 2-round burst hand cannon was shooting 1-round bursts at one point. I'm generally not trying to discredit anyone's work or come after anyone's job. That is not at all what this is meant to be. But a stronger emphasis needs to be put on this moving forward. It makes the game feel like a lower quality product, and that's detrimental to its future. I will say this: Bungie, you're trying to take Destiny in this direction, which it already kind of was going this direction, but definitely more so with Edge of Fate. Bungie wants an approachable looter shooter, but with in-game content like contest mode, to be this very competitive environment. But it's hard to introduce a competitive environment like that when you've got bugs that we're having to navigate. The fact that I have to close my game every 4 or 5 hours because I'm worried that my game's going to crash on hour 6 mid-encounter, that's been going on for a year now. The game has got to work right, dude. That's not even just for high end, dude. That's just all the way down, like all the way down the list. It should just work better. Let me just mention this last thing about contest mode. You aren't forced to do it. There is a normal version of the raid. Contest is only for 2 days out of the year. It's not forced content. As a matter of fact, from a sanity perspective, you shouldn't do it. Think about how much time I just committed this past week to this raid. 40 hours. Imagine if I spent that time grinding levels. I could have grinded all weekend, leveled up my character, and then walked into normal mode and had a great time. In terms of loot, you know what I mean? Like, it would have been much better for me to do anything else. This is 2 days out of the year that presents this level of difficulty, and you are not required to do it. I wish we could be incentivized more for sure, as far as like better tiered loot, but you're not required. Let me read this real quick though. For contest mode, raid bosses tied DPS checks are really, really awesome. Those DPS checks requiring multiple loadout swaps mid-phase, not quite as awesome. I think we should encourage game knowledge and execution, not how many times we can hit buttons in a menu. I would much prefer a raid where the encounters locked my loadout when I begin the encounter, as long as the boss HP bars are designed around that idea. These bars feel designed around having to swap. Don't love that. There's a lot of different perspectives on this. Back to our point though, to round out my 3 positives. I think the portal is good, and I think that it's been great to onboard new players, and it's been good for leveling up. And I love that there's no cap on getting gear levels. I thought the narrative was really, really strong. And I thought the raid was really, really good. I would say that the raid and the campaign experience are like 2 of the most important things for me on big expansions. We'll see how things play out over the next few weeks, and especially going to Ash and Iron. I just don't know really how this rollout of content is going to be this year. I don't know if it's going to be better or going to be worse, but we'll just have to see. All right, so those are my 3 positives and negatives, everybody. Will we continue to be playing Destiny 2? Yeah, it's a fun game to play, man. Name me another first-person looter shooter out there on the market that has in-game dungeons and raids and PvP. Until something comes along, this is our jam, man. And I pretty much cycle between this game and Warframe. Those are my games.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.
Is someone on the ship with us, or are we good?
Not yet.
Keep boosting toward them. Give me a little closer.
Yeah, they're boarding on top.
How would you feel? Let me ask you guys.
Let's see what they...
At a loot
Media.
in the game right now, I can get a kinetic and I can get gauntlets. I can get a kinetic and I can get gauntlets. Chat, this is what I like, man. Like, we're a gaming channel right now, but I hope you know the direction we're going in. As soon as we start reaching certain points in our age, it's gonna be about vitamins, yoga. Because none of my settings I had to check. Shrouds. By the way, if you can't PvE though, you're going to get shit on in PvP. You have to be able to PvE. It's a fast dash, 30-minute long games, and it's all about locking down the best loot possible. All right. Have to be able to PvE. PvE though is a mix of PvE. Bring you 3 hours. We are going to be doing something very special. You and I are going to be playing a game that I've been very excited to play this week, and that is Wildgate, which just recently launched yesterday. We have codes to give away. Luke is going to facilitate the giveaway for these codes. If you get a code, you don't have to play with me right now, but I would love to bring you guys in, and I'm looking for a good team. This is a mix of PvE. It's a mix of PvP. If you can't PvE though, you're going to get shit on in PvP. You have to be able to PvE. It's a fast dash, 30-minute long games, and it's all about locking down the best loot possible. All right. Luke, what is the code for the giveaway on this one? Hello, Luke.
Hey, sorry. Let me set up the code for the giveaway really quick.
You gotta turn that gain down, my man.
Oh, all right. How about now? Sound better?
That sounds a lot better.
All right, cool.
By the way, guys, it's a great point. Seems like tier 5 raid loot inside of Destiny would be time get into Ash and Iron. Something.
One hell of a drug. And these clout is one hell of a drug, and these online personalities became addicted. What may have started as a genuine desire
I'm not, oh, dude, I'm not on
to
there.
entertain
That's
an
crazy.
audience slowly turned into an endless need for attention. Because once the views start dropping and the money dries up, desperation kicks in. And that's when things get dark. Today we're diving into the craziest stories of streamers who went to unimaginable lengths for internet fame. Starting with Arab Andy, whose brainless antics may have inspired an entire generation of toxic streamers. Jamal Haraz was a part of the IRL streaming wave that grew out of the CX community. A crazy circle of creators formed around controversial Twitch streamer Ice Poseidon. There was a trend of Andy streamers, like Asian Andy and Mexican Andy, who were pushing the limits of what they could get away with in public. But Arab Andy was one of the most extreme. He farmed donations by letting his viewers control his surroundings. Arab Andy had an audio speaker on full blast strapped to his backpack. Viewers would donate money, and the message they sent or the audio they requested would blare out loud so anyone near Jamal could hear it.
You know, I'm gonna be starting up donations, you know, so I can get self-stick and other stuff like that, you know, to do more equipment and, you know, there's more things.
Now, this could often be seen as a harmless prank, but since Andy had absolutely zero moderation, many of the donations consisted of racist language, threats to others, and anything to become a public nuisance. It was only a matter of time before one of these live streams got out of control, and on May 31st, 2018,
Chad, this
that's
clip
exactly
is wild.
what
That
happened.
clip is
Arab
wild.
Andy casually walked onto the University of Washington's campus looking to start trouble. He was not enrolled as a student, but he had his backpack on, and his speaker turned up to max volume. First, he entered a random lecture with the intention of interrupting the class.
Well, when like random people show up to my class and start recording me, I want to know why.
Yeah, I bet. I don't know why. Like, they just sent me, dude. UW.
Who sent you?
UW. Authorities.
Who? Do you have any kind of identification?
I work for like the UW, like facility for filming. You know, like the filming.
No, I've never heard of such a thing.
You never heard of that?
No.
We just started hiring last year.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, dude, I'll come back later when there's less pizza.
Okay.
Enjoy your class, dude.
Okay.
I guess. I bet.
Then he moved on to another area of campus where a small end-of-year gathering was happening, and this is where things took a darker turn. Nobody around him knew who he was, and without warning, a donation alert blared from his speaker. C4 has been successfully activated. Bomb detonation countdown successfully started.
C4 has been successfully activated. Bomb detonation countdown successfully started.
Now, just to clarify, most of the screaming you heard in that clip was from the audio file playing from his speaker. Whoever donated found an audio file that had a bomb detonation countdown combined with an explosion as well as those screams. But when played loud enough and with adrenaline kicked in, it's likely that the people around the speaker could have confused it for being real. As the students and staff ran out of the building, the authorities were notified that there may have been an attempted attack on campus. For the next hour, the entire area was locked down while authorities searched the scene. As the chaos spread throughout, Arab Andy remained alive. He recorded himself casually walking around campus and captured real-time reactions from terrified students.
Kyle Crowder was saying that there was an announcement saying that the bomb was about to detonate in 10 seconds or something like that, and that's why they pulled the thing. Oh god. Okay, wait, what? Someone made an announcement? Yeah.
No way, someone did that? That's fun.
As Andy heard the deafening sirens from police, fire trucks, and ambulances approaching the school, he realized his desperate attempt for virality may just have gotten him in huge trouble.
Dude, look, what the hell, dude? Holy shit, dude. It's not even a bomb, guys. I don't know what.
I mean, cooked him.
He quickly scurried off school grounds, thinking he was in the clear. He even tried to claim that this wasn't his fault.
Guys, again, I did not do anything. That was a donation. I'm not gonna TTS.
Now from here, the smart thing to do would be to turn off the live stream and maybe lay low and wait for the police to give up on their search. But Arab Andy is not a smart guy. He continued to live stream and continued to allow his chatters to donate and play random things from his speaker. As he walked through a crowded city street a few blocks away from the school, it was extremely easy for police to figure out who was responsible for the bomb threat. They ran up to him with their guns drawn, unsure if he was a literal terrorist or a prankster.
On the ground. On the ground right now. Wait, what's going on? On the ground, don't make any sudden movement. Okay, I'm recording, bro. If you're gonna shoot me. That's fine. What are you doing, bro? Put the gun down. Put the gun down. What are you doing, bro? What are you doing, bro? Record all you want. That's totally fine. Move this way. Jesus. Contacting in place until bomb threat. Move away from right now. That way. What did I do? On the ground. I didn't do nothing, bro. Lay on the ground. That was TTS. That was a donation. On the ground now.
Lacking situational awareness and completely downplaying the severity of the situation, he doesn't remain still and tries to tell the officer it was just a prank. And it's honestly surprising that American police officers gave him so much grace, because they had no idea if he was a real threat or not. And as we all know, it was just a prank and there actually was no bomb. But the damage had been done and he was in serious trouble. He was arrested and the police charged him with threat to bomb or injure property. He tried to plead his case and explain that it was just a harmless prank, but the law doesn't see it that way. The courtroom set his bail at $75,000 and banned him from uploading anything else to YouTube. And for those thinking that this was unfair, it's likely that law enforcement needed to make sure to punish him in a way that would prevent other clout chasers from attempting such stupid pranks ever again. Especially on
Dude. And it's not like some people always say, oh, snowflake that. Bro, it's a simple concept. Like, you could just have people like green light the TTS as they come through the fucking queue, and the things that are way too far, you just fucking skip them. It's not that fucking big of a deal. People will not even know what the donation even happened. Like,
college campuses. It's unclear if Arab Andy ended up serving any jail time. All I could find was that years later he tried to make a return to YouTube, but shortly after he disappeared again. The same thing can't be said for Fousey, who has a long history of going to great lengths to chase.
How's that freedom of speech, buddy? You can see how that's like a threat, and bro, it's on a speaker. It's on a speaker to other people, bro. How can you say it's not? What do you treat as not a threat then? You have to take things seriously, dude. Like what?
Clout, disappear, and come back to set the bar even higher or lower. At his peak, FouseyTube had turned prank content into a money printing machine, earning tens of millions of views on simple, harmless pranks.
What's not even an opinion? It's just a fact. Like it's like when people do, like, if you do a call to violence, it's a crime. You cannot do a call to action for violence and say, guys, like, if
views on simple, harmless pranks. Tens of millions of views on simple, harmless pranks.
What's not even an opinion? It's just a fact. Like it's like when people do, like, if you do a call to violence, it's a crime. You cannot do a call to action for violence and say, guys, like, attack a person, harm this, do that. I'm going to do this. Some things are not protected by free speech. They're like, you can, some laws are enforceable on that particular speech. And I think the thing that we're playing on a speaker, they will take action, especially if it's at a fucking school. It's crazy.
Call my butt fat? I thought you were a girl, man. You thought I was a girl? No, you know you liked what you saw. Don't discriminate now. It's still Kim K size. Looks like you want to scratch a piece off, huh? I can't do nothing with that, bro.
Fousey secured millions of subscribers in the earlier days of YouTube, who laughed along with his creative ideas. However,
I will address this once and I'm gonna stop. Yo, Andy Pog. Yo, nothing you say is wrong, but again, you're on a bender today. This thing was like, oh, yo, cannot post on YouTube is violation of his freedom of speech. Okay, you have certain freedoms and you have certain things that you could do, right? That everybody has, up to the point where you do something, you break a law or something like that, right? Like a guy, if a guy is mentally ill or is a felon, cannot have a gun. Cannot say they're breaching his right to bear arms. Yeah, but dude, you could bear arms until you broke those rules and you broke the law, and in a way that you can't do it anymore. You had it, now you don't. It's not a violation of anything. You violated it, not them.
This created an immense amount of pressure to maintain such high viewership, which is why he shifted from mild pranks to thought-provoking social experiments, such as what if the homeless gave you money, and the kidnapping children experiment, where instead of laughing at a silly goose time, the viewer was challenged with a deep introspective assessment. What would you do in this situation? Now, creating a think piece to assess a societal problem was not necessarily a bad idea. However, when Fuzi did not...
last time I'm taking your link. Yo, MD Paul, you're on a bender. Yo, you better get that down. Bro, how are we gonna ask Grok like this fucking, like the dumbass on Twitter? Buddy, are you telling them what you got charged for as a crime and what you did before that? Bro, this is not some normal person. Bro, it's like saying, oh, in the United States, can I own a gun in this state? Oh, sorry, I forgot to say, I also have done multiple violent crimes. I've harmed people, and Emma, no, you need to put that in. You need to put that into the prompt.
Not get the reactions he wanted from strangers, he decided to orchestrate reactions from actors or friends that he hired, which turns an interesting thought experiment into a scripted performance that doesn't accurately represent reality. But the real desperation was apparent when he started
people sometimes that they get charged with crimes on the computer, like hacking shit, that they will ban them from accessing the internet. They'll ban them. Yes, this happens.
Faking the dumbest ideas, like fake farting in the gym.
Give me a fight!
What?
Man, that's some bull. Man, you farting when I'm lifting weights.
Why are you worried about my farts when you're supposed to be here trying to stop the sag?
I mean, but damn!
Other rising prank YouTubers like Danny Duncan were on a crusade to call out Fuzi for his fakery.
But he's still lying by saying this prank's real, or this prank's real, or this prank's real.
Yeah.
And you don't need to do that. That's why I'm here. It's just the principle of lying. Like, you don't have to lie to people to make a video.
And while it may seem like Danny was being overdramatic, he had a simple point that many agreed with. Pranks are supposed to be these funny, spontaneous, and ideally harmless moments that capture the hilarious, authentic reactions from people. But the moment a prank is staged, it becomes soulless, defeating the entire point of having fun. Fuzi initially tried to justify his actions by saying that every other prankster faked their videos, but his attitude and hypocrisy made him easy to hate.
It was the fakest reactions I've ever seen in my entire life. And yes, guys, but Fuzi, you fake shit. How are you gonna talk about fake shit? Exactly. If anybody knows about fake shit, it's me.
As the years went on, his viewership started to nosedive, which also meant he was losing money, relevance, and then maybe his sanity. That's when the motivational speaker version of Fuzi was born.
Believe it or not, chat, some pranksters used to actually make funny pranks that didn't hurt anybody. And these guys all disappeared because they got overshadowed and their viewership got fucking cannibalized by fake shit. It's a little bit sad because a lot of them were actually really good. They were actually good. It is what it is.
He started posting these intense rants about positivity, destiny, and mental health. He said he had been chosen by God, that he was here to change the world, that he was going to inspire millions of people and bring the planet together through love. And while the message sounded positive, the delivery felt unstable.
There is nothing on this earth that can happen to me that I cannot overcome and beat. No matter what anyone says, no matter what anyone does, no matter anything, you are the only person who has the power to stop you. You are the only person who has the power to win this fight.
But even with all of these positive messages, people could tell something was off. His behavior felt erratic, and the way he talked started raising concerns about his mental health.
Anybody at the bottom in a YouTube comment section who goes, you go through depression, you go through bipolar, how the hell are you going to be a motivational
motivational speaker. I can stand up strong and say, watch me.
But then he announced something that totally shocked everyone, that he was throwing an event.
I am now, for the first time, going back to the city that destroyed me, Los Angeles, California, and taking back ownership of my life and my power and throwing the biggest event that Los Angeles has ever seen on July 15th. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. We're just getting started. Here we go.
Fuzi named this event Hate Dies, Love Arrives.
Oh no, not the thing with the
He
car.
claimed it would be a massive Coachella-like experience that would be completely free of charge at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles, all meant to spread peace and positivity. Now this sounds like a massive project, something that might take months, maybe even a year to plan, but Fuzi announced the event just 7 days before it would actually take place.
They're getting a free, basically Royal Rumble Coachella experience, because like it's just gonna be 10, 9, 8, a different artist comes out, and it's just gonna get bigger and bigger.
From there, Fuzi uploaded daily videos hyping the event, even titling them Drake July 15th with pictures of Drake as the thumbnail. He even launched a line of merch that had the date July 15th on it as if it meant something huge. This got people talking. It was easily the most attention Fuzi had gotten in years. Keemstar even announced that he was going to be making a documentary about the event.
That's what I'm saying. All the signs that I see is leaning towards a shit show, and I want to be there to document the disaster.
However, others like FaZe Banks had to step in to remind everyone to be cautious of Fuzi because he seems to be mentally unstable.
We're not talking about someone who's all there right now, okay? He's going through a manic episode. $1 trillion.
I don't
know if that's true. 1 bajillion%.
Fuzi started prophesizing his own life, going on rants about how this event was a message directly from God and that he was going to unite the entire entertainment industry in the name of love and peace. His desperation for views was so high that he was tagging celebrities in his Instagram posts such as Ellen DeGeneres and Diddy, asking them to show up to the event. He even begged LeBron James to show up and promised him that 1 million people would be watching the event live. When the event started, Fuzi live streamed it from his YouTube channel and only about 2,000 people tuned in, so he made the title "Need 2 million viewers for Drake," as if he was going to magically appear somehow. Fuzi tripling down on the idea that Drake would be there is maybe the only reason why a couple hundred people even showed up. And to no surprise, they never got Drake. Instead, the crowd—
I mean, yeah, I'm confused, chat. Yes, why is there so little people?
Couple hundred people even showed.
I mean, chat, I feel like if you were to fake fake a big lineup, but you'd at least get like more people than this, no?
Up. And to no surprise, they never got Drake. Instead, the crowd got embarrassing performances from no-name rappers.
Like a big Ollie, someone wanna me and they think and get on with the shit, so you know I'm about to hit, cause I'm too legit to quit.
And then, when no one thought the event could get any worse, the venue was evacuated by police because of a bomb threat. To this day, no one knows where the threat came from, and the show was over before it even began. But Fuzi wasn't done embarrassing himself just yet. Instead of leaving, he climbed on top of a car in the parking lot and started arguing with Keemstar in front of a crowd of confused fans.
I invested all my money into this event and I did it for free. My accountant said, Yusuf, where are you gonna make your money? I said, that's not a problem to me. I didn't care. But before I even got to do the event, before I even got to tell my story, you're making a documentary on it so you can post it after the fact. So if it flops, you can have the hot news on how Fuzi f***ed up and he should.
In the middle of the argument, Fuzi started rapping.
You're still talking about the little things. You're heating up your breakfast when I'm heating up my dinner. Hey.
Anybody who cheered for that is in the wrong. You guys are just wrong.
Heating up your breakfast when I'm heating up my dinner. Hey, you burning in the summer while I'm bundled up in the winter.
Before immediately switching back to expressing serious
super
mental
hot
health
fire
concerns.
type thing.
I rewatched videos going viral after the attention you're giving me now of you saying Fuzi is the biggest piece of shit, egotistical asshole on this earth. I have bipolar and depression. That what you put into my head made me want to.
For the next 10 minutes, as helicopters swirled above, Fuzi tried to explain why this event was supposed to change his life, why it was a calling from God.
Chat, if people really liked him at the time, okay, and this clip came out, Anthony Fantano would have rated that a 10 rap. 10 out of 10. It's a 10, is what it is.
He actually wasn't lying about Drake.
I call OVO Johnny and I'm telling him what's happening. And I'm like, am I a leech for this? Am I doing something wrong? He doesn't tell me to stop, and he doesn't say, I'll text Drake for you, or my brother OVO Ryan. He goes, just put your faith in God.
That's stuff on the chat. It was so funny though.
I called Lexi Pantera, a beautiful artist and dancer. She was also in Tyler Perry's Boomadea Halloween 1 and 2. Shout out Tyler Perry for being my mentor always. I call her just to get her energy. I'm creating energy, right? Around me, through everybody, the universe, everybody's on the same mission.
I think YouTube has destroyed and rotted his brain. I worry for him. This is 100% mental instability. Being off his meds might be dangerous. And yet, after all this chaos, it ended with Fousey just admitting on Adam22's podcast that he never actually met Drake, he just kind of stood next to him one time.
So you didn't meet Drake, he just looked at you. I mean, if he just looked at you, did you really meet Drake?
Do something for me. In the next 2 hours, will for yourself to touch nose with Drake. If it happens, I'll sell my entire YouTube channel. I'll give you $10 million.
Did you touch nose to nose?
Literally like this. That's how close he was to me. I did that because I manifested that because I believe in myself, Keem. This has always been me from the start.
And then a day after this failed event, Fousey decided he would drop a diss track on
What kind of flex is that?
Rice Gum called Four Ghosts.
Rice ain't got no spirit, got no deeper layer. One ghost rider, one ghost Fortnite player.
Fousey lied about Drake performing at his event, caused a bomb scare, and destroyed his reputation worse than it already was. And the sad part is, his unstable mental health and addiction became his entire appeal as a content creator for the years after. When he returned to live streaming on Kick, he openly spoke about battling bipolar disorder, depression, addiction, and anxiety, turning his meltdowns into viral content.
When you get that upset, we're dangerous. Physically and emotionally.
You're right. You're right. I am dangerous. I am dangerous. I'm very dangerous, and I don't give a fuck.
Now, to some degree, this could be seen as a good thing, to help educate others on the importance of mental health and the realities of those who suffer, but then he would sometimes stage public disappearances, stunts, or hospitalizations to drive views and sympathy, leading to a never-ending teeter-totter of people unsure of whether or not to feel bad for him or to despise him.
What if I die from my...
Chat, this guy is, in my opinion, chat, this is my analysis, chat. I'm not trying to be weird or malicious with this analysis. This is actually just analytical. I think he's just a guy who is like a system breaker. He finds a system, right? And he finds a way to kind of meta it and kind of gamify it and then win, right? And then he does that with the pranks, and then with the streams, and then with the drama, and then with like the mental health shit. And then once he finds that, oh, that works, that's successful, he does it over and over, and he like meta games it. And he found that he had success with the whole like fake I quit, I'm back, I'm crazy, and he just goes into that loop, and then he just starts farming it.
Me exploding, and you guys say
that's
we're
a problem.
coming, and I'm dead on your behalf in Australia. I hope I die so that I can blame Australia forever, and my parents can sue them for every $15 they're worth.
However, everyone can agree that social media is a net negative for Fousey, as attention is his drug and he is willing to destroy himself to get it.
How they should have bribed to lose the weight in the first place. So now before they make the every day, he just likes to eat. Stop justifying being fat and not having a Stop justifying being fat. Stop justifying not working.
And yet, Fousey's past decade of clout chasing doesn't even remotely compare to Johnny Somali, whose desperation for views got him literally banned in 2 different countries, and now he is facing prison time. Johnny Somali initially started creating content by vlogging his adventures in Japan. Many American live streamers visit Japan because it is safe, clean, and visually interesting. Its vibrant cities, unique fashion, and amazing food allow for an affordable, yet high-quality experience that makes casual streams feel exciting. But somewhere along the line, Johnny's intentions shifted. Broadcasting his fun adventures turned into what he called trolling. But his version of trolling wasn't just jokes or harmless pranks. He went into public spaces, usually with a speaker strapped to his backpack, and tried to annoy as many strangers as he could. He'd say offensive things or blast disrespectful audio clips, all while live streaming to his small audience. Johnny got a taste of the attention he so desperately wanted when a clip of him harassing someone on a train in Japan went viral.
I saw that.
Hiroshima? You know Hiroshima? Nagasaki? You know why you do this? Pearl Harbor? Hiroshima, Nagasaki!
Johnny berates this man for 4 minutes straight, repeatedly saying Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which are literally just the names of 2 Japanese cities. Now we know he was trying to make some sort of edgy joke in reference to the devastating bomb attacks that the American government dropped on those cities during World War II, but the innocent man on the train probably had no idea. He was just confused and probably annoyed.
Hiroshima, Nagasaki, you know Hiroshima, Nagasaki. We're gonna do again. What? Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Hiroshima, Nagasaki. We do again.
That is,
You don't know.
Now, Japan is known for its deeply rooted culture of respect, order, and social harmony, and Johnny saw that as an opportunity to exploit. He knew that the average Japanese citizen wouldn't fight back, wouldn't yell, and would most likely try to avoid confrontation at all costs. That's what made this the perfect setting for his so-called content.
It's already
But Johnny was
dodgy and
mistaken,
unfunny. His
because
delivery's
Japanese
even worse,
citizens were extremely pissed off with his behavior and actively tried to find him and confront him. You could feel how scared and caught off guard he was after being smacked in the face.
It's good to know people in Japan. Let's be respectful. I hope nobody in the chat was saying weird shit. If I go back and whoa, what the chill out. Chill out.
Jeez, man.
Stop. Oh, yeah. Hey, relax. Relax, nothing, no problem. Relax.
1 week later, he was attacked again.
Right now, hop in Discord. Oh, whoa, what the?
Well, like I would say, I don't think anybody should be doing violence and doing all that, but at the same time, it's expected. Like, I mean, I feel like you'd be crazy to think that that wouldn't happen. Like,
yo, relax. Yo, stop.
As satisfying as it was to watch Johnny get roughed up, it did not slow him down. Even though his safety was at risk, he was getting more viewers, which was his ultimate goal. The only time you actually saw him genuinely upset was when he got a temporary 72-hour ban from the live streaming platform Kick.
I don't know what I could have done to get a 72-hour, dog.
I wonder.
They said permaban or only till ice free. I guess they banned me till ice free.
The hate for Johnny just kept spreading throughout the country, and whenever he was confronted, like by this man living in Japan, he would fold and lie like a coward.
Is that me?
Yeah, this you?
No.
You sure?
It's me, yeah, what's up?
I got a problem with you, bro.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm a troll.
My wife is Japanese.
Okay.
You go there insulting people like that. You know how many people from Hiroshima joking about that?
I know.
So why are you joking about the people?
I was drunk. I know.
Family suffered, people suffered because of that. You're on the train harassing people like that?
I was drunk.
Don't do it again, bro.
I haven't done it again since.
I seen how people in Tokyo whoop your ass. You're lucky I don't do the same, bro.
Is that a threat?
It is, yeah. Because you go out harassing people like that, innocent people who didn't do anything. Japanese people are the most polite people.
I was
Japanese
drunk
people are the
I
most
apologize.
polite people I ever met in my life.
Okay.
And you're on the with them like that for what, bro? For a little bit of clout? It's pathetic. Come on, man.
But sadly, his antics persisted.
You watermelon nigga, what? Show this nigga psycho, nigga, keep moving, nigga.
The more he made it clear that he did not respect Japanese culture.
I will say though, hey, listen. I'm gonna say before we're gonna get mad at it. I gotta be honest with you. I feel like people should.
This is Emergency Steak from World War II. In 1943, Betty Crocker put out a cookbook to help the homemakers of America navigate wartime rationing. Real steak cost a lot of ration points, so this was her answer: a meatloaf molded into the shape of a T-bone steak. It's made up of ground beef with salt, pepper, onion, crushed Wheaties cereal, and milk. Now, Wheaties may seem like an unusual addition to meatloaf, but it makes sense when you know that both Wheaties and the character of Betty Crocker were owned by General Mills. Yeah, Betty Crocker was not a real person, but her recipes were helpful all the same. Many of her wartime recipes replace hard-to-come-by ingredients like eggs, sugar, butter, and quality cuts of meat, hence the ground beef. So once you've sculpted your steak into a T-bone shaped masterpiece, harder than it looks, you broil it, carefully turning it once, and then your substitute steak is ready. It actually has a surprising amount of flavor, maybe because of the Wheaties, I don't know, but it's certainly not a T-bone steak. But I think it'd be a welcome meal during wartime. Full recipes up on YouTube or tastinghistory.com.
that you love. The only true justice was to let those dominant jackals feed on you, survive off you.
Our moral compass